Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. My name is Dirk, I'm your host, and I am as excited as you are. We have high temperatures, the snow is gone, the green is coming, the water is almost here, the snow is melting. My predictions, by the way, open water on May 1st. I hope that will be true. And we are excited to get the boat in, the dock in, the lift in, and all that, and play in the sun very soon here. Thank you for tuning in. We have David Hilber with us, speaking about Lida Green's golf course, which was founded by his grandfather in the early 80s. And it's a really interesting story, I find. And it's a cute little golf course nestled in the hills there by Lake Lida, and I pass the lake often on my road trips. It's right by Maplewood State Park, and I am sure gonna play it this year and hear about the addition. 14 holes, interesting details. So thank you for tuning in, and also thanks for using our website, lakelifeweekend.com. It's daily updated with local events, local stories. We added recipes to the mix, and we are excited that you let us know what you want to see. Please keep emailing us and telling us your stories and how we can communicate your ideas and some suggestions. You can email us to hello@lakelifeweekend.com. Thank you also for our sponsor this week again, At East Dock and Lift on Highway 10 going east past Detroit Lakes. They have many docks and lifts waiting for you now that you can almost see the water. So speak to Mike or John and get some education on the right lift system for your boat and your equipment. Or if you want to upgrade, change. It's a brand new building with lots of inventory to explore. Thank you for supporting us again this week. I don't want to keep this actually very much longer to our interview parts. Go to lakelifeweekend.com for daily updates. Please rate us and feel free to like us on Facebook and share this podcast post. And you have a wonderful spring weekend ahead. Thank you for tuning in. Hello. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with David Hilber of Lida Green's golf course from Pelican Rapids area. I'm sorry. I always mix those two up. Hello, David.
Hello.
Before we speak golf course, maybe some rules, maybe maintaining and the behind the scene things, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Were you born in this area? How did you end up becoming an owner of a golf course?
I was born in St. Paul in 1962. My parents are both from the Fargo area, and they actually, I think, met at NDSU. And I lived in the Minnesota, North Dakota area until I was in about first grade, and then we moved out to the East Coast. And grew up primarily around New Jersey. Did all my college and university out there, and then my main training, I'm an optometrist. I went into the Army after optometry school for 25 years. And my wife and I were looking for something to do after retirement that was not just more optometry, although I still do that. And my family had a golf course. And my parents are in their 70s and were looking to ease out. And we thought, wouldn't that be a nice way to transition and be out in the country in an area where I would come for vacations as a kid, and with all the lakes, and I kind of grew up with the golf course in the background, so it seemed like a very nice way to go after the Army. So that's how we ended up here.
Well, interesting life journey, and you are Army retirement age, but you're still very young in a real life, and so you take over a family business and which was founded by your grandfather.
Yes, my grandfather Jack Hilber. He's actually a semi-professional golfer, or was. He's in the North Dakota Golfing Hall of Fame. And he worked for the phone company and golfed on the side. And his family, I think, would come out to the Lake Lida, Crystal Lake area resorts when he was a kid. So he always had a soft spot in his heart for that. And when he was getting closer to retirement, they bought a farm out there. And he always had in the back of his mind to have his own golf course. And they had a number of businesses around Pelican Rapids. And the way I heard it, one day they were driving down Highway 108 past the lake, and there was an old flax farm for sale. And he thought, I could make that into a golf course. And so they bought it. And I think maybe 1983 time frame, and by 1984 or 5 he had it open as a 9-hole golf course.
Wow.
So, and then my dad came out to help him with it in the early 90s, and him and my mom both in their retirement kind of took it over in the late 90s, and they've been running it ever since. And so now actually my dad and I own it together.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll be just me, but for right now it's a dad and son venture.
Yeah, really. Yeah, fascinating. So you made your way back, I guess, or your way to Lakes Country, and you chose it because you like our area. That's good. And you have a almost 35-year-old golf course that you maintain. So do you remember when it was all starting, your grandfather, did you see it when it was built? Or
I didn't see it when it was built, or if I did, I don't remember that part, but I do recall when it was brand new and we'd play on it. And a couple things very different from now. One, there were very few, if any, trees, because it was a big field, farm field. Of course, now there's trees that have been there since, most of them, 35 years. Also, my grandfather was kind of a character, and didn't believe in chemicals, fertilizers. So it was very much of a natural golf course.
Interesting.
Which made the greens very interesting. So I remember a lot of that. But I remember it was a lot of fun. We'd come out and we would, of course, be visiting family. In fact, that's still a big thing. We do reunions out at the golf course every 2 years. This is a reunion year.
Okay.
So it was always with family around, and it was, as a little kid, not just golf, but there were frogs to catch and fish in the streams and just interesting things to do. So that's what I remember of it as a kid. And then over the years, it, changed as it got older and greener, and the trees got taller. And then when my dad took over, he wanted to push it more in the direction of a more full-fledged course. So he brought in the fertilizer and spraying and that kind of stuff. And we still do some of that. But other than that, it's kind of a natural course. We haven't done a lot of grading or types of things. All the fairways follow the natural lay of the land, and so that's kind of where it is now.
Is it? I must admit, I have not played it. I have visited, and I met your father last year, and I know where it is. I am a passionate golfer. I actually started a golf tournament over 10 years ago in Germany, a student golf tournament, which is still playing annually. So that doesn't mean that I'm any good, unfortunately. But
neither am I, if it's any consolation.
I will come to practice. So tell me about, is it a challenging course? Is it like a easy course?
Well, for the golfer, you have par 3 courses that are very short and easy. You've got full-blown courses that are much longer, more challenging. We're kind of in between. Mm-hmm. We don't have any par 5 holes, so our longest hole is 360 yards or so, but we've got a number of longer holes and also a number of shorter holes. Our shortest hole is only, I think, 85 yards, one of the 5 ones we just opened. But it's up on a hill, and you're hitting to a green that's surrounded by wetlands. Mm-hmm. So it is challenging. We have people that play it, and we'll hear the comments, a lot harder than it looks. Mm-hmm. So I'll put it that way. It is a lot harder than it looks. but also fun. And kids can play at adults. If you're really into 400-yard drives, it might not be the place for you because you'll hit over a lot of the greens.
So
but
you need good short play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So your grandfather sketched it himself, or did he how do you start a golf course? He just saw it.
I believe he just kind of went out and had in his mind how he was going to fit 9 holes around this field and a kind of a marsh that's in the middle of it, and a stream that goes through one side, and just kind of worked them out that way. And of course the barn that was there is our pro shop, and he had now it's an actual pro shop. When he had it, it was a barn with a lean-to in front that was made into the pro shop, but all of it centered around the barn, and there's a house there. So he kind of laid it out on his own.
Okay.
And then planted trees along the breaks, and I think initially he did what are called pop-up greens, where you just start mowing where you want a green to be, shorter and shorter, and put some sand over it to smooth it out and keep mowing it shorter and shorter. But over the years, some of those are still left, but a number of the newer greens were done more in the traditional USGA format or a variation on that.
With a little bump, or I don't know how they do it, but it's like...
Well, it's more on you have a base of pea gravel with drainage, and then sand on top of that, and things like that, rather than just short grass over regular ground.
I understand. For moist control, or I understand. Okay, because yes, playing on a carpet area,
right.
Carpeted area, different than the greens, the fairways.
Fairways, yes.
Yeah. And okay, so you started, or your grandfather started with a 9-hole course, and then I understand last year you added an additional 5 holes.
We did. The whole golf course property, I think, is just short of 150 acres, and the original 9 holes only take up the 33 acres nearest Highway 108. And so there's a large area. Probably one half of the rest of that area is woods, but there was a large open area that for years since he got out there, my dad's been mowing with the intent maybe someday putting more holes out there. So we'd go out on reunions and hike out there, and my uncle would fly his remote controlled gliders out there, and you could kind of start to see, maybe there'd be a hole here, there'd be a hole there. So when I got out here in 2013, we talked about, if I'm coming in, maybe we should look to do something in addition to what we have. Maybe we ought to really push for those new holes. So we started working on that 2013. Mowing a little wider and spotting where we wanted to have the greens, just like what I said my grandfather did. We kind of looked at where the land was and where we had opportunities. We wanted longer holes for one thing, so we didn't, to expand that a little bit. And we originally were looking at 4 holes, and one of the greens we originally wanted to do, we did a little bit of the groundwork. It was on a hillside, and we kind of looked at it and thought, that really isn't the best spot for the green. It really should be 100 feet that way, which is where it is now. And then the guy that was had the bobcat and the diggers and stuff, he kind of said, it'd be cool if this was a tee and I could put a green down in the wetlands there for you. Which is how we ended up with that 85-yard hole. And I thought it would sound like a great idea. And it is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I hit it with a sand wedge and try and pop it up. My younger son, the first time he played it, he sort of hit his a little bit sideways and rolled it down to the hill on the green, almost got a hole in one. But it's pretty interesting. If you're too long, you're not going to find your ball. But that's kind of how that all came about.
Okay.
So that was the project, and then we did that groundwork for 3 years or so, and then
really?
2 years ago we put in irrigation, dug a new well, put in irrigation, and that was really the kind of the crux point, because that was all the big money. Put in irrigation, put in the well, because you can't do the greens without watering. You got to have them watered. And then last year, this time I would have been out at the golf course working my butt off. We did 2 months straight of nothing but trying to get that stuff going, so we could open, which we ultimately did. Second week of July last year, we had all the 5 new holes opened, and probably key to that, and this was unexpected, but we were going to plant the greens from seed.
Okay.
And the gentleman we get our fertilizer through called me back after we had talked about the fertilizer I needed for the year, and he says, hey, there's a course in Detroit Lakes that closed, Ironman golf course,
Yeah.
which I actually had not heard of. My dad had played there. He says, they closed this year, and he'd be willing to sell you his greens. And I said, you mean like go up there with a sod cutter? And he says, yeah.
Oh, really?
So that's actually what we did. We went up and bought 5 of their greens to put on 4 of ours, because one of the new greens we already had. It was one of our practice greens. But we took 5 of their greens and put them on 4 of ours and some of the tees and some other things. So, and in retrospect, I don't know that we would have been able to open without that, but it worked out very well. And,
Interesting.
It was an interesting thing to do. I'd never done anything like that.
No, sure.
Before.
So now we have 9 original holes. We have now an improvement, a growth of additional 5. So we have a 14-hole golf course with. Do you know the total yard length?
I can tell you.
Oh.
I'll look it up while we talk. Do you have another question, and I'll come back to that? Because I'll bring it up on my phone.
Yeah, no, I understand. So we have I actually learned most of my golf on a short course, which is very challenging to play, as you mentioned, if you are ahead. So it can be really challenging. So I was wondering, and I think the reason for the additional 5 was you had the idea of, for some people, a 9-hole course is just a little bit too short, and an 18-hole round is just a little bit too long. So this 14-hole course gives me the amount of time to play a good game of golf, right?
Yes, and that actually my dad came up with a kind of a slogan that we're looking to use more this year. He calls it rate time flexibility. So you've got options of how much you're willing to pay and how many holes you want to play, how much time you have. Because the way we've got it set up, you could play 9 holes, you could play 5, which is 5 the new holes, or 9 the original. You could play 14, which is all of them. Or you could play 18, you double the front 9, or you could play 10, double the back. And we've got rates for all of those.
Interesting.
So you can kind of fit
your time into
how much you want to spend and how much time you got to what's available there.
Is that a trend? I'm really not familiar with the golf industry in detail. So do you feel that, I know we are in Lakes country, people come here to relax and enjoy, and I guess they bring the time, but do you feel that there is a certain group of people that would like to play more, but they really feel they cannot make the time? Do they come Tuesday nights? Like, do you have people in demand requesting that 5-hole, 10-hole, 14-hole?
I think it's a little early to tell. We had a lot of good response to it last year, and a lot of people came, I think, because they'd heard we had them. And the general consensus we got was they're very tough. There's some hard holes, but a lot of fun. And they're steep. They're on hills. There's a lot of hills.
Okay.
So there's some holes you'll start. If the course you walk, you're probably going up and down 150 feet or more from the tee, walking down and then back up to the green. You're hitting over the wetlands on 2 of the holes, and around them on 1. But we got a lot of good feedback on them, but we only had them open from the second weekend of July. So this year we'll kind of get a better feel for how they play out as far as what are people coming there more for. We still had a lot of folks that just played the front 9. And it seemed like it was either they're playing the front 9 or they were playing 14 is my recollection what it mostly was. We had a few that just played the 5. Don't have much time, let me just try that. And a couple where they would go around twice on the new holes. But that seemed to attract people that really wanted to go, like I can whack it, cross all that stuff right onto the green, that kind of thing, where it's a little more challenging, where you can do some of that stuff maybe a little more obviously than you can on the front nine.
Mm-hmm. So I know from comparing it to Germany, which golf is a very exclusive sport in a way, because you need to be a member. We don't have a lot of public courses. We have some, but mainly membership courses. You're an open course, right? Open to the public?
We're open to the public, but we also have memberships. So
Okay.
if you like to golf a lot, it's a really good deal. If you're planning to come, more than 10 times or so, it's well worth it to buy a membership.
Mm-hmm.
We have them arranged where you can do a straight membership where you walk, or you can rent a car when you want it, or you can do a membership and add a card onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's your cart, but you have a card available whenever you play. And we've been slowly building that. We've got kind of a core group that does that.
How many members do you have, if I may ask?
I think
100, 200?
No, we're that'd be nice. No, we're down in the mid 20s,
In
close
membership?
to 30. Yeah.
And so is it fairly, if I come, I usually get a tea time? Like, is it accessible, or is it very busy? What's the busiest day? Sunday? Saturday?
The weekends are generally busiest. Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sundays are all our busiest days, and then during the summer, when all the people are out at the lakes, some of the weekdays can get fairly busy too. It kind of depends on time of year, but the weekends are always our busiest times. We generally have not had a situation where we had to turn folks away, with the exception of the big holiday weekends. The 4th of July weekend is always our busiest week. We have 18 carts for 14 holes, but we'll still, on 4th of July weekend, we'll have times where we have to, cross our fingers and hope somebody comes in with a cart so people aren't delayed too long. But most of the time, that's not an issue. One of the things we did the second year I was here, we added in, and you can argue if this was a good thing or not. There's some debate in the golf community about how good these things are, but you can get online services that provide you a website and online tee time ability, which
Sure.
we've been doing now. This will be our 4th year. And we didn't used to have that. If somebody wasn't in the pro shop to answer to take a tee time, then you didn't have one. But now that we've got that on our website, you can book the tee time online, and if it's open, you're good.
Oh, okay.
If we're doing a tournament or something, or we do a couples league on every other Sunday night during the summer, those will be blocked out depending on when it is and how many people are playing. But for the most part, it's pretty open, and you can book online or you can call the pro shop. And
Let's talk tournament. How many tournaments do you have, or like, do you have a famous one?
we do 2 main tournaments, and the one that's the well-known one is our it's called the Lida Junior Tournament. That was started, I think this will be our 22nd year of doing that. It was started by 2 teenage boys that worked at the golf course 22 years ago, and they convinced my dad, hey, this would be a great thing that we should do to get the youth of the area playing, and it's been going ever since. And it's actually pretty popular, pretty well attended. We do it, I think this year, if the 12th is a Sunday, it's always the second Sunday in August. So I think this year it's the 12th. It's on our calendar.
And then
Pretty sure that's the date.
And then is it restricted to like age 12 to 18?
Up to 18. 17 or 18. I should have brought my notes with me.
Put you on the spot here.
It's either 17 or 18. It's all spelled out on the website, and it goes. So we do it in 2 groups. There's a younger group, which I think is under 12, and then 12 to 18-year-olds.
Sure.
So they'll play in 2 groups. We do the younger kids first thing in the morning.
Okay.
And then the older group goes in 2 flights. They play a seeding flight. Well, the scores will see who goes on to the championship round, and then that second round is the championship round, where we come up with the winners. And we try to do a boys and girls champion. Last year, of course, we changed it up a little bit with the new holes. We played half of the championship round was on the new holes. which was very very interesting. So we're planning to do that again this year.
And what's the other tournament?
The other tournament is one we host for our members. We've been doing that now, I think, for 7 years or so. So all of our members, we also extend it to people who participate in our couples league. They all can come out, bring a guest, and we do a tournament for the members with a cookout and whatnot. And that's that is also in August, 2 weeks after the junior tournament.
Okay. What if I want to organize a tournament, like a weekend open?
We also have that. I don't remember the name of the family. It might be the Olsen family. There's a couple different groups that have come for a number of years, and they do family tournaments.
Okay.
So they'll essentially, depending how big the group is, rent the entire course for half a day, and they come out and they play their family tournaments out there. So that's just something you contact the pro shop and with what you want, and we set it up, and we do a number of those type of things during the course of the year for golfing. And then we also we don't cater ourselves, but we've got a banquet facility in the upstairs of the barn, the pro shop.
Oh, that is open now. You have a little event center there, huh?
Yeah, we do events up there. We've hosted a number of things. The Pelican Rapids Chamber of Commerce has had meetings over the years there. The Lake Lida Property Owners Association, a number of different groups will do things out there. We've had a couple weddings, and a number of wedding receptions.
Okay.
Different things like that.
How big is that space up? How many people can you seat up in that barn?
80, I think. 80, maybe 100. 80. I think it's around 80.
I've been in there when I visited your dad, and I think it was still. To be prepared, or was it maybe 2 years ago that I was there?
Yeah, and there was for a time now. She doesn't do it as much now, but my mom is very musical, so she would host a coffee shop up there in the past, bring musical groups and stuff, and they'd just kind of jam up there. And then, but that was back in the early 2000s. She did that for a number of years and really enjoyed that. So a lot of different things go on there.
Okay.
In addition to golf.
And you open Monday through Sunday, 7 days, or is there a closing day? Is Monday closed?
No, once we're open 7 days a week. Basically sunrise to sundown. In reality, what we do is up through Memorial Day, we'll be open at 8. Between Memorial Day to Labor Day, we open at 7, and then after Labor Day, we start opening at 8 again. But we'll go until the sun goes down.
Okay.
So.
I see. And then you open till October. Is that like until the first snow?
We traditionally stay open until Oktoberfest weekend for Pelican Rapids, which is usually the second weekend of October. And the reason we do that, we participate in the Oktoberfest with we used to do, I'm sure you know what a Volksmarch is.
Yeah.
Having lived in Germany, my family Volksmarched a lot over in Germany. My parents really liked it. They got into doing it in the States, and there are Volksmarch associations in the States, and they signed up with, I don't know, it was the Red River Valley Volkssports Association, but they did for many years of Volksmarch on the course, 10K, actually on the course in some of the surrounding area. And then they added on to that a 5K, 10K run. And it, depending on when, it would be very well attended or it could be very sparse. Lately it's been more sparse, and we've been trying to do things to increase that. I've been on the verge of not doing it the last few years, but we'll get, people come out and would like to see it keep going. So what we did last year, we stopped the Volksmarch. Officially, we don't officially have it as a Volksmarch, but we do have a 5K walk as part of the Oktoberfest. And in the morning of the, I think it's the Saturday morning of Oktoberfest for Pelican Rapids, we do a 5K run, which goes around the golf course property and also through part of my property. And you can do it twice, and it's a 10K. And we have a timed event for that. And so once we finish that, the next day we pull out our clubs, and as we go around play the last round, we pull all the flags out and lock the doors.
Oh, really? So a little bit more behind the scenes. Did we find the?
No, I couldn't bring it up on my phone. I believe we're at about, I think the front 9 were I want to say 3,200. It's on our website.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I can't open it on my phone. It won't take me to the regular site.
Oh, it's because I probably have.
Yeah, we have the scorecard on there. It has the lengths of all the holes and the total lengths. I'm thinking it's the total length is maybe 5,000 yards.
Yeah, that's yeah.
All 14 holes.
You're not a numbers guy.
I'm probably off. I should have had that memorized.
What's your handicap?
My handicap is 28, I think.
Oh, we're the same strength, pretty much. Yeah. So behind the scenes, I mean, how much effort? I know it's not cheap to maintain a golf course. It's a lot of work. I mean, how are you hands-on? I mean, you must mow it twice. How does that work?
Well, a couple of things. Before I actually came out and started doing it, I think I had a pretty different idea of the amount of effort involved, and definitely of the cost. And I don't know if I would look at these things if I didn't own a golf course, but I kind of watch when Donald Trump or somebody else, or our local course in, I'm making up a name, Chaska, Minnesota, maybe their municipal course was going to be rebuilt, and it's a $12 million project. And it's like, whoa. I mean, you can spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on a course if you have it, which we don't. So, then you start doing things like we don't have new equipment. We have not old, but used equipment to do all the mowing. And we've got a number of mowers. We've got a couple of greens mowers. We've got a couple of fairway mowers, a couple of trim mowers, garden mowers, that kind of, so there's a number of different types. Each kind of thing you do has a different mower.
Oh, sure.
So the one you do the greens with, that's all it does.
Okay.
Fairways, that's all they do, And then we've got rough mowers that mow all the rest of the grass. So so that equipment is not cheap. If you buy one of those mowers brand new nowadays, they're between 35 to 50,000, if not more, which is way beyond our budget. But if you buy them used, a few thousand hours on them, you can pretty decent deal, and they last a long time if you take care of them. So you got to do all that maintenance, and then of course all the mowing, and that's what I do at the golf course. My dad oversees the pro shop. My Aunt Eva actually runs the pro shop. My dad does all the behind the scenes stuff with that, and then I run the grounds crew and do the mowing and the grounds work and the spraying and the fertilizing and all that sort of thing, and also some of the things in the pro shop. But that's what I'm doing right now. When I'm down here, I'm sort of setting up how we're going to have the grounds crew running, and we're hoping to start our part on Thursday if the snow melts enough.
Yeah.
And I'm encouraged the way the weather's setting. We're hoping to open on the 28th of April.
Yeah.
We may not be able to because there's still a lot of snow on the golf course, including some of the greens are still completely covered, but we'll at least be able to get started this week.
So how is snow, what's the damage, and how long does the grass need to get green or recover? What's with the biology or the nature part?
The biggest thing with snow that you have to be concerned about is what's called snow mold.
Oh.
And that's really particularly on the greens, tees, and things like that, where you get a particular types of mold that'll grow under the snow, and they can really cause a lot of damage on the greens. So the last thing that I do at all related to the course is in late October, early November, trying to be maybe a couple weeks before the snow comes, I spray all the greens and the tees to protect them against the snow mold. So that's the first thing I do when I go over there once the snow's gone, is I'm looking to see, okay, how well did I do on that? How well did I protect it? Now, I've only been doing that myself 2 years. I just got my license to do all that a couple of years ago. Last year went pretty well.
License?
You have to have a license to do that, yeah.
For the
spraying. Not the fertilizer, but to spray the chemicals, the pesticides and herbicides and things. You need a license for that.
Sure.
So last year it went really well. I was impressed with how good it did. Hopefully I'm as impressed this year. But other than that, the snow doesn't do too much that we're worried about. And the water, when it melts, is a good kickstart for the grass.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I think once the snow's gone and it warms up a little bit, usually within 2 weeks, it'll kind of it seems to me it goes all of a sudden. It's brown, 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 and then boom, everything within just a few days seems to be
popping,
greening up, and then all of a sudden it's like you can't cut the grass fast enough.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's interesting. So it's a lot of work. So you work 7 days. How often do you have to mow? Like twice a week, every day?
We're mowing almost every day to some extent, although on the weekends, one of the things you want to try not to do is you don't want to get in the way of the golfers with the mowing.
Sure.
And there's a limit to how well you can do that. We try to get the majority of the mowing done during the weekdays, preferably less on Friday and not at all on the weekends other than the greens. So I try and mow the greens on the mornings on the weekends, and then all the other big mowing, fairways, all the roughs, we try to get that done during the weekdays.
Mm-hmm.
But there's mowing to a little extent every day, but much, much less on the weekends. We try to have that done by the time the first people are hitting the tees and limit it to just the greens.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm actually really excited to play it. I really like short courses. So we learn is it a family-friendly course? Is kids?
It's very family-friendly. We try to attract family play, and we get a lot of kids out there. And actually, that reminded me one thing I'll mention. This goes back to why we did the 14 holes, and this is something I learned when I got out here. I hadn't paid that much attention to it, but when Tiger Woods was really doing well, is he going to beat Jack Nicklaus, all that, a lot of people started watching, a lot of people started playing golf, and then kind of when he wasn't doing so well and he started not playing as much, it started to tail off. So the last 7 years or so in golf, it's been losing members, and you've seen a lot of. Since I've been out in this area, at least 3 courses that I know of closed. Three other 9-hole courses.
Oh yeah, interesting.
So there was a lot of talk about how do you get people to come out again for golf, and they were talking about things like foot golf, where you kick a soccer ball instead of hitting a golf ball, and then you have to make a big hole for the soccer ball to go in. And apparently, some people like that. I didn't particularly like the idea myself. And then frisbee golf's been around for a long time.
Frisbee golf, yeah, right.
Well, and I like that, but again, I didn't want to set it up on the same course, so we haven't done anything with that. And then 3 years ago, my dad.
I get it now. Yeah, you're competing with the sport.
But there was a third thing that we did do, something called fling golf, and it hasn't been a huge success, but it's kind of a cross between golf and lacrosse. So you have looks like a golf stick, but there's a little basket at the end that the ball goes in, and you fling the ball.
Uh-huh.
So they call it fling golf.
The same ball.
The same ball. And the nice thing about it, you play on the same holes with the same cup. You should go from the same tee, but instead of hitting it with a club, you pick the ball up in a little basket and you fling it.
And then I putt at the end.
And then you putt at the end. You can putt with that stick, or you could bring a regular putter and putt with that. And we bought a set of 8 of those back 3 years ago. And they've had, moderate use. We see a fair amount of kids come out, and if their parents are with them, and they'll try it while they're playing. Some adults come out and tried it. We've all tried it. We've had family try it. It's all my daughter will do. She won't do regular golf, but she'll fling golf with us if we twist her arm.
Do you give training? Like I have a 9-year-old son, and he's kind of wanting to play, practicing, but I don't know if I'm the best teacher, to be honest. So. And I'm by far not a. Do you have a pro available at times that teaches?
Neither my dad nor I are good enough
to
teach other folks. We'd probably be good at teaching our bad habits. But my brother-in-law, Tony, is a very good golfer. He came out last year for about a month, and we took the opportunity there to run a junior golf camp, which was. Very well accepted. We had people that did it, had a lot of fun. He's coming again this year. And I can't remember exactly what date we picked, but it'll be in June. We're going to do that again and see how that goes. And we may try some other camps if that continues to do well. But that's aimed specifically at, I think it was 12 and under, so youth, and kind of aimed at people who haven't golfed much. Not at least so far, not so much at people who know how to play and are looking to get better, although he could teach that too, but this is aimed more at
entry
kids who want to, hey, give it a try. You might like it. You might like what you see.
Introduction to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They do putting, they do chipping, they do driving.
Yeah.
Try all the, we have stations for all the different clubs, and they go through kind of rotations, have a nice little lunch thing. And
you have to have your own, is it 1 day only?
1 day. Yeah.
Oh, it's a 1 day camp. Okay.
Yep.
And then you have to bring your own clubs?
No, you can if you have them, but we have clubs for use for the camp. And we do have rental clubs at the course if you don't have clubs. But yeah, for this, you're not required to have clubs because we do have clubs that can be used if you don't
I'm
have
really
your
interested
own.
in that event to bring my son, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
And that date, again, will be on our website. We were just trying to determine exactly the date, and we had that meeting last week, and they're finalizing details on that, so we'll have that posted very soon. And that'll be advertised as well in some different places.
Yeah, I will communicate that over the Wknd website. That's why it's there. So yeah, no, that was really interesting. I can only imagine how difficult it is to operate that and to keep it green and growing. And I hope there's many players coming. Usually I end this with the question, what you personally like about lake life. Everybody has their own little angle and connection, I would say, to lakes country and lake life. You want to share what your lake life is about besides the golf course?
I think for my wife and I, and probably the deciding factor on wanting to come out here is, we both love New Jersey, but it was suburbs and expensive, and the idea of coming out more to the country. We like hills, we like water, which this area is full of, and the peace and quiet, with people around. So we're not isolated, but you're not surrounded by all the big city stuff. It's nice to have it close, but it's nice, we've got a place up above Lake Lida that it's just, when you get home and you sit down and you think, it's hard to believe we're here. This is our place, and we're here all the time, and then you got the golf course beside that. So, but it's for us, we have already felt if the golf course ever fails completely, we're like, still love it where we're at. It's we're not planning on going anywhere. So.
Yeah. So you like the outdoors and to be connected with nature and.
Yeah. Well, we got we're used to our previous place we lived in near Baltimore in Maryland, and we had maybe a little short of a quarter acre. I mean, a beautiful house, nice neighborhood, loved it. But not as a forever kind of thing, So where we're at now, we've got 29 acres. Part of it's on Lake Lida. We've got another little 10-acre lake in our backyard, and so there's space out there to do, all the things you thought you'd want to do if you could. Well, now we got the potential to do any of those things. So it's just a nice feeling to have that in your back pocket, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your story, and I'm excited to come. You have a good start into the season, and thank you for coming. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.